What makes it so hard to believe in positive thoughts, even if it's not serving us to have a negative mindset? So what's happening here is that the mind is really adept at detecting phoniness, superficiality, and also oversimplification. And often positive thoughts could give the appearance of having these qualities. So even if we want to consciously believe in a positive thought, it could be really hard to trust in that positive thought at a core level. Subconsciously, our minds could not accept that positive thought. The mind only truly accepts information if it feels like it is realistic, genuine, or at the very least, useful. So when positive thoughts are being used to suppress negative thoughts, if the negative thoughts feel like they're more real and genuine, or at the very least useful compared to the positive thoughts, we cannot help but listen to the negative side unconsciously. Though consciously we want to put that negative side away, what happens is that what we resist keeps persisting at a subconscious level. Think about it this way. Someone is very smarmy or very ingratiating. Do you trust that person? Well, that smarmy, ingratiating person is like the positive thoughts. Because you start to wonder, is this person genuine? Is this person real? And same thing with those superficial positive thoughts. Are they genuine or real? It's hard to really trust them as a result. This is why when CBT is done in oversimplified fashion, it does not work. Simply replacing a negative thought with its opposite counter positive thought, what happens here is that the subconscious mind would just actively resist that positive thought. And even though we really don't want to listen to the negative thought keeps calling out to us. So what can we do besides dismiss negative thoughts, which is a strategy that only makes the negative thoughts stickier inside our own minds? What we could do instead is see why they are staying, see the purpose behind the negative thoughts. There's a very good question that we therapists ask. How are these negative thoughts trying to serve you? And when you take the time to answer this question, it makes us feel a bit less crazy because we could see that the negative thoughts are trying to serve us in some sort of way. So first of all, we could find that negative thoughts often exercise caution. And by exercising caution, they're trying to keep us safe. So this meets a minimum criteria for usefulness. Positive thoughts, when they're superficial, on the other hand, they turn a blind eye to issues, and the mind subconsciously pays attention to this. The next thing is that negative thoughts may have a kernel of truth to them that superficial positive thoughts dismiss. So when you give space for negative thoughts to express themselves, it can be healing because we're listening to the truth that they're trying to express. The next thing is that when you give them space, you're allowing that negative energy to pass through. It makes it less sticky as a result. What's happening here is that the negative thoughts are saying to us, I see that you're trying to fully understand where I'm coming from in a non-dismissive way and that you're trying to work with me. So that could be healing because if negative thoughts are being suppressed, they desperately try to call out, and that causes a very anxious, stifling kind of feeling within us. And it's a relief to be able to get the negative thoughts to be heard. So after taking time to explore how negative thoughts are trying to serve us, it's easier to be in a space where we could see how they are not serving us. And the reason why is that if we're only exploring how they're not serving us, it seems like we're suppressing the negative thoughts. But if you take the time to explore how they're trying to serve us, we kind of clear the air around that. It's easier to go towards looking at how they are not serving us because it seems like more of a real and genuine kind of exploration that your mind would accept. So when it comes to negative thoughts, when there's a lot of space provided for negative thoughts, what happens is that the negative thoughts, they become amplified and we start to become fixated on them, and they start to affect our emotions in a negative way, such that we start to feel worse and we start to feel discouraged. So it's good to provide space to talk about our negative thoughts, but when we just keep talking and talking about it, what happens is that it could start to be experienced in a very discouraging way that does not make us feel good. On the other hand, positive thoughts could genuinely feel encouraging and provide us with morale. So when positive thoughts are encouraging and gives us morale, what happens is that it can make us more resilient in dealing with our issues. We start to become more open to the possibilities and on the lookout for them. And we end up being more resourceful when we come from a more positive mindset. So positive thoughts help us to be more resourceful and also possibility minded. This covers the usefulness criteria, but does that make positive thoughts genuine or realistic? Well, we can look at it this way. Positive thoughts, when they're too superficial, they could be oversimplifying, black and white, and rigid. However, the same thing can be said about negative thoughts. When they're taken to an extreme, they're also superficial and oversimplifying, black and white, and rigid. Just like how when we have negative thoughts, we're looking at things through blue tinted glasses. That's going to be as unuseful as seeing things through rose tinted glasses or a merely obliviously Pollyanna positive mindset. Negative thoughts can have the kernel of truth to them, but so can positive thoughts as well. So another con of negative thoughts is that when they embody a negative mindset, they tend to activate our fight and flight system. And so this is not bad if what we're dealing with is some immediate high risk situation. Say that there's a truck barreling down the road at you. You need to think in that black and white fight and flight kind of way. You want to trust your fear center of the brain and just jump out of the road. And that fear center could be incredibly negativistic, but it does not matter. It's better than trying to think about a very nuanced way or sophisticated way of trying to assess the situation in a moment. You just want to get the hell out of there. On the other hand, if we continuously live in that kind of mindset, that fight and flight mindset, that's going to cause undue stress on the brain. So most situations nowadays are not life or death, and they're incredibly nuanced. So back in the old days when we were cave people, it's beneficial to kind of embody that negative mindset and always assume the worst, that you might actually die because there's predators lurking about. However, in today's society, situations are much more nuanced. And if you carry around that fight and flight kind of mindset, that is going to cause damage to the brain in the long term. To address the problems of today, you need higher level resourceful thinking. That's what the positive mindset provides, because when we get into a more positive mindset, it actually opens us up to our neocortex and forebrain, so long as this positive mindset is not blindingly positive. Then what happens is that we're able to activate higher level and complex reasoning, our intuition, and possibility mindedness. A negative mindset, on the other hand, tends to completely shut down these areas of the brain. So to conclude, I want to say that the negative mindset is a very common thing. It's a very human thing to have. And it's something that is adapted by our ancestors when they're dealing with predators, but it's not suited so much to today's society, because when we have a primitive fight-flight response, that's not going to work well to more sophisticated issues of today. And it's easier to open ourselves up to how negative thoughts do not serve us when we could first try to see the purpose of them, how they're trying to serve us. And what that does is that when we do this exploration, we have less resistance to positive thoughts. This does not mean merely replacing negative thoughts with superficial positive thoughts. And the key word here is trying, seeing how the negative thoughts are trying to serve us, because what we're doing here is trying to find and unearth the kernel of truth and then find over time a more helpful way to look at things which is not from that very rigid kind of negative mindset. And the key thing here is to be realistic and genuine. The truth is much more nuanced than an overly positive or overly negative mindset. Truth is not Pollyanna, but on the other hand, it's rarely the black and white view of when we get into that fear center of the brain. Negative thoughts remind us of caution. So it's good to kind of check in with it to see what it's calling out to us for. On the other hand, positive mindset, the usefulness behind it is that it provides morale and also opens us up to higher level thinking. Be sure to check out my website, leonpsychotherapy.com, in which I've written all sorts of articles on mental health, and also my Instagram page too, in which I have all sorts of little bits of inspirational writing. I have links to my website and my Instagram page down below in the description box. Do me a favor and click like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching.